بسم الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. I start with the name of Allah, seeking the reward from Allah and from Allah alone. Following the example of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who advised us that each of the deeds that are done for the sake of Allah, without them being started with the Basmala, the saying of Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, it is deficient, it is missing something. So, seeking the reward from Allah, sincerely and from Allah alone, I start with this and ask Allah to bless this work of ours, this sitting of ours. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All of the praise is truly due to Allah, who has blessed us with many, many blessings, countless blessings. We cannot count the many blessings that Allah has given to us. And these many blessings that Allah has given to us, Allah gave them without anything being obligated upon him. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And humbly, I pray to Allah to raise the rank of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to protect his family, his companions, and his Muslim followers from his nation, from all it is that he feared for his nation. MashaAllah. Thereafter this afternoon, inshallah, we will continue reviewing from the text entitled The Briefest of Summaries, which is intended to be a summarization of the summary of Sheikh Abdullah al-Halabi, which has the goal of ensuring that one receives the obligatory knowledge that is an obligation on each of the accountable believers to learn. We have reached in this text the chapter of the sins of the different organs. These sins are things that we must avoid. Islam is a religion of knowledge and piety. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And one's rank is raised by him being pious, by him fulfilling the obligations, all of them. He must fulfill all of the obligations. And by him refraining from the sins, all of them, must refrain, he stay away from all of the sins. And one would do other good deeds on top of that, inshallah. There are many. And by this, one's rank is raised, inshallah. By this, one is better than he was a previous day. He is better than when he was in a situation when he was not obedient. MashaAllah. So we must avoid the sins. And how would one avoid these forbidden matters? Unless he sought this obligatory knowledge. Unless he learned what is an obligation upon him, what is sinful for him that he must avoid. And then he does the obligations, he avoids the sins. But if he left out this obligation of getting this knowledge, how would he avoid the sins? We talked in this chapter about the sins of the organs. And we mentioned that among the sins of the stomach is eating an improperly killed animal. How would he know that if he didn't learn? Maybe he thinks that if he eats something that is not pork, he's okay. Well, it's good if he avoids eating the pork, the pig meat, but he must learn. And learn that not only is the pig meat forbidden to eat, but also eating from the meat of any animal that was not slaughtered properly. But he must learn so that he would avoid that enormous sin. And for him, ignorance would not be an excuse. We mentioned the sins of the eye. Among the sins of the eye that the author mentioned is for one to look at the face and the hands of a marriageable woman with desire. And to even look at other than the face and the hands of the marriageable woman, even if it's without desire. How would he know that? If he didn't learn, and he sat looking at the knee of a woman wearing these shorts, he looked at her hair. Oh, he likes the way it's tossed up and turned and designed. And he looks at that. How would he know? Maybe his intention was not an ugly intention. Maybe he did not have desire when he did this. But he looked a forbidden look. He committed a sin. He disobeyed Allah because of his ignorance. So he's obligated to learn the obligatory knowledge. And alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. What a blessing. What a blessing. What a tremendous blessing from Allah for the one who has a path to learning the obligatory knowledge. We mentioned the sins of the tongue. Among the sins of the tongue that the author mentioned is the sin of labeling another one as a fornicator. Doing this without his witnesses. This is an enormous sin. But how would he know if he did not learn the knowledge? How would he know if he did not sit and take the knowledge? It's not a common practice to avoid this sin. If you didn't sit, if you didn't learn, would you even think that something was wrong with that? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. It is an enormous sin to say about another that they are one who performs the illicit sexual acts, even if that other was a blasphemer with a low status. To accuse them of this is an enormous sin. Alhamdulillah, we thank Allah for the knowledge. By this we are able to avoid the sins. And this is why we learn this sin, so that we may avoid them. We talked about the sins of the heirs in this chapter. And we said that among the sins of the heir is to listen to the pipe, the flute, those instruments by which the sound is made from blowing through them. This is sinful for one, and he must avoid this. But how would he know this unless he learned? If he did not humble himself and sit and learn, would he even think that even maybe this is a sin? Subhanallah. So the importance of learning this obligatory knowledge cannot be understated. And for those of you who have sat maybe several times and have taken this knowledge, it is good to review. MashaAllah. And let one who attends the circles of knowledge, let him correct his attentions and be mindful of how generous Allah is. Did you know? You do know. But I remind you, as I remind myself, MashaAllah, the one who goes out of his own seeking this knowledge of the religion, he has a reward like the reward of the mujahideen who goes out and fights for the sake of Allah. The time that he goes out until he comes back. Allah is very, very giving, generous. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And we review the sins of the hand. And among the sins of the hand is to hit someone unjustly. And this is sinful. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So one must avoid this. If he wants to, he wants to hit, make sure that this hitting is done in accordance with the rules of the religion. MashaAllah. And in our last class, in our last sitting together, We reviewed the sins of the private parts. We mentioned that the author said among the sins of the private parts is the zina, the fornication. Also among the sins of the private parts is the sodomy. For one to insert the glans, penis, or what's more than that, into the anus of another. And that masturbation by other than the hand of someone lawful for him is sinful. And we have reached the section that discusses the sins of the foot, the sins of the feet. The author said among the sins of the feet is walking toward a sin. So this one who has his intention to perform a sinful matter, whatever that might be, his walking, even his walking towards that sin is sinful for him. When one is aware of this, and he knows that his walking towards a sin is sinful, doesn't that fill your heart with fear? Doesn't that make you even more inclined to avoid the sin? Those sinful matters that are disobedience to Allah, who deserves to be obeyed. The one and only Creator. The one for whom every good that you have, Allah is the creator of that. Every good that you have, Allah is the one who made it reach you. And even more than that, every badness that could reach you, Allah is the one who protects you from that. So the thankful slave would not dare to use any of these blessings in disobedience to Allah. Not if he's a thankful slave. And even walking toward that sin is sinful. So the one who learns the sins so that he may avoid them, and it runs across his heart, he remembers even walking to a sin is sinful. Inshallah, he won't walk toward the sin. And even if he began, maybe that will come to him again. It is sinful to walk towards the sin. And inshallah, that would be a reason for him to obey Allah, to leave out his intention of going towards that sin and return to obedience to Allah. May Allah fill our hearts with love of Allah. And may Allah make our hearts overflow with fear of Him. Amen. Among the sins of the heart is to extend the feet toward the book of the Quran. It is sinful for one to have his feet pointed, directed, extended towards the Mus'haf, the book of the Quran. And this extending of the feet is when his foot and this text, this book, this glorious book, is on the same level. He must avoid that. But again, mashallah, I don't think that one would know this without learning. Inshallah, we will stop here to perform the prayer. Barakallahu feek wa jazakallahu khairan. Let's end with that tahleel wa salat ala nabi. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.